So hello everyone and welcome to my first historic deck guide. So this is the deck I've played in the historic challenge that managed to give me the 20 boosters. If you didn't watch the video of me opening them, I'll link it in the description down below and do check it. So I can guarantee you that this deck is gonna get you a bunch of wins in that challenge, especially if you know how to pilot control decks pretty well. If you don't worry about it too much, just read a bit about the meta and know what to play around and what key cards to play around. So if that's a bit hard for you to memorize, maybe write them down on a piece of paper, write what each one does, maybe the mana costs. That's how I first started playing playing Control properly. And when I first started playing Esper Control, I think it was 9 months ago. Yeah, I think it's like somewhere around that. So let me give you a quick rundown about the deck. So Esper Control is a standard control deck. So what does a control deck do? Control decks kind of try to control the board, and then after they control the board, they run away with the game with insane card advantage. Let me divide the deck guide into both of these categories. So how do we control the board? We control the board using our removal spells such as Cast Down. Drown in the Lodge is a removal spell and a counter spell at the same time, and that flexibility made it earn one spot in my deck at least, because it's never a dead card, it always does something. Dovin's Veto is a counter spell, Absorb is also a counter spell, so we use all of these to kind of control the board and not let our opponent resolve any key spells. Oath of Kaya is a pretty good card because it gets to gets us life against some aggro decks, and it's pretty good when it's paired with Teferi because you get to bounce it, replay it. Now our board wipes are mainly Shatter the Sky and Settle the Wreckage. Now why did I go with that split? Because I don't always want my opponents to draw cards with Shatter the Sky, and sometimes against Field of the Dead you can't play Shatter the Sky and instant speed if you don't have a Teferi. So Settle the Wreckage is necessary, and yes, I do agree that it's not the best choice because Field of the Dead will get them more zombies, but sometimes the necessity of having instant speed interaction forces you to go that route. So it's just a one-off, it's not that serious of an issue. Elspeth Conquers Death is an insane card to have in this kind of deck because trust me, it's gonna hit everything you want it to do and it's gonna revive any of our planeswalkers. And just like Oath of Kaya, it's pretty good when it's paired with Teferi because you sometimes get to loop Elspeth Conquers Death and your opponent just concedes on the spot when he sees that kind of things. So you've seen how do we control the board, but how do we run away with the game? How do we gain card advantage? So our main card advantage pieces are Search for Escanta. It's a very good card when it's paired with our other Teferi, which is Teferi Hero of Dominaria, because at the beginning of each end step he untaps up to 2 lands, so you can use Escanta when it flips, and then after using it on your end step you untap it with Teferi, meaning you get to activate this twice and get 2 cards per turn. And trust me, not a lot of turns are gonna pass after you get to gain this kind of value. Alright, so that's our first way of gaining incremental card advantage. Teferi is also a way to gain card advantage in our set, and Small Teferi are also a way. Now, how do we win? We win by making our opponent just lose all hopes and dreams of winning the game, and we also win with Command the Dreadhorde. We can reanimate a bunch of things from our opponent's graveyard, and usually that's going to be enough to just force your opponent into just conceding. And the all-star in this deck is Thassa's Intervention, because this card is so flexible and so good that it's very bad not to include in the deck, because look, it's either a counter spell or a Dick Through Time kind of effect. So meaning if the game is pretty late, your opponent does nothing, he passes to you, end step you just jam this down for like 7, you get to look at the top 5 cards and pick 2, and trust me, that's an insane kind of thing to do. Alright, so that's gonna be pretty much it for the main deck. Sideboard is kind of differs per your choice, but this is what I've decided to go with at the end. 2 Basilica Bellhaunt, 2 Lyra Dawnbringers against our aggro decks, because Basilica is also good against mid-range control decks because it forces them to discard. Lyra just gains us 5 life per attack, it's a very good finisher. Unmoored Ego is against a bunch of matchups which are mainly Nexus and Field of the Dead, but you can slide them in against any control matchups as well, because Unmoored Ego can name Field of the Dead, killing just the deck itself. I mean, they would still have maybe Crisis, but you can deal with that with a 1-for-1, don't worry about that too much. And you can also name Nexus of Fate against Nexus of Fate decks, also killing the deck by itself, and it's very good against any deck that's revolving around 1 key card. Carve the Carnarium is here if you need any earlier board wipes, mainly against Mono Red or against Field of the Dead sometimes, because this gets to kill all of their zombies, and that's pretty good. Now, Elder Spell is very, very cool, because sometimes you side it in just like against a control matchup, but sometimes you're very ahead in the game at a stage where you have a Teferi and another Teferi and Narset. So what you can do, and what happens is, you use the Elder Spell on your own Planeswalkers, and then you get to put 4 loyalty counters on a Planeswalker. So you put them on your own Teferi, and then you emblem your Teferi on the same turn you drop it. And trust me, you just win instantly when you do that. Believe me, no one ever came back from me doing this. Alright? Noxious Grasp is good against Cruel Aggro and Control matchups, because it gets to kill anything that's green or white. Cast Down is just here because we sometimes need more interaction at instant speed against certain kind of decks, like for example Azorius Tempo, Mono Blue Tempo, and the rest is just here against any kind of control deck or mid-range deck that cares about non-creature cards, obviously. So that's gonna be pretty much it for the deck. Some interactions I want you to know about are, and I think I've mentioned them before, don't forget that you can bounce your Oath of Kai, your Elspeth Conquers Death with your Teferi Time Raveler. Another thing you can do with Teferi Time Raveler is to bounce your Murderous Rider. So you play him, and then you like attack, and then bounce him back again, get to destroy something once more, and that's gonna be pretty good for you. Make sure to play your beacons before you cast any of your Planeswalkers, and that does seem obvious, but sometimes you're like caught up in the middle of the game, you don't think about it too much. One thing I recommend you change is to take out any of the non-basic lands, and then just side in, maybe take out one of the beacons and then play an island or a plains. Because like most of my opponents were running main board Field of Ruin, and that wasn't an usual thing in Historic. Usually everyone's playing 3 color decks or just straight up aggro, so Field of Ruin did not see a bunch of play. But I played against way too many Field of the Dead decks, and when they did play Field of Ruin and I had my island in play, they just destroyed one of my lands for free. So that's gonna be pretty much it for the deck guide. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider subscribing to the channel. It helps out the channel a lot. Tell me how you do with this deck, and with that, I'll see you guys next time.